Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. John Carter adjusted his uniform as the shuttle docked with Elysium, the sprawling space station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters. As he disembarked, his liaison, a sprightly Gantharian named Teak, greeted him with a series of clicks and whistles, the universal greeting among Council species. John Carter, welcome to Elysium. I am Teak, assigned to assist you during your stay. The alien chirped, extending a limb in friendship. John took the offered limb, mimicking the greeting he had practiced countless times back on Earth. Thank you, Teak. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to working with the Council. As they walked through the bustling corridors of the station, Teak briefed him. Your first Council meeting starts in an hour. Many are eager to hear Earth's perspective on trade routes and resource sharing. John nodded, absorbing the details. I'll do my best to represent Earth's interests and foster a spirit of cooperation, he replied, his eyes scanning the diverse throng of beings they passed, creatures of all shapes, sizes, and colors, a testament to the galaxy's diversity. They arrived at the meeting chamber, a vast dome with a transparent ceiling displaying the cosmos. Around a large round table, delegates from various planets were already taking their seats. John's heart raced as he took his place, keenly aware of the weight of his role. The session began with ceremonial introductions. Each delegate introduced themselves and their planets, sharing greetings in a symphony of languages, translated by the devices embedded in the Council's table. When it was John's turn, he stood, offering a polite nod. I am John Carter, representing Earth. We are relatively new to the Council and hope to learn and contribute positively to our shared goals in this galaxy. His statement was met with nods and murmurs of approval. The meeting progressed to discussions about trade routes, with John listening more than speaking, taking notes on a tablet. As the meeting adjourned for a break, John was approached by a humanoid figure with a stern visage, dressed in ornate robes. I am Xerx, from the planet Lider. I noticed you were quite reserved during the debate. A strategic choice, or simply overwhelmed? John smiled, recognizing the challenge hidden in the question. A bit of both, I suppose. Earth has much to learn, but we are eager to engage fully with the Council's activities. Xerx's eyes gleamed with a mix of curiosity and respect. An honest answer. I appreciate that, John Carter. Tell me, what is Earth's stance on the disputed nebula region? It's a topic of much interest. Before John could reply, another voice interjected. Leave the man be, Xerx. He's barely had a chance to settle in. The tall, thin being with shimmering skin extended a hand to John. I'm Scylla, from Myria. Don't mind Xerx, he tests everyone. John chuckled, accepting Scylla's hand. I appreciate both the warning and the welcome, Scylla. As for the nebula region, Earth advocates for a shared approach, recognizing the rights and needs of all affected civilizations. Scylla nodded approvingly. A diplomatic answer. I look forward to hearing more about your ideas. The trio chatted briefly about various minor council matters before the bell chimed, summoning them back to the session. As they settled into their seats, John felt a surge of confidence. His initial interactions had gone well, and he was ready to face the complexities of intergalactic diplomacy head-on. As the second day of council meetings drew to a close, John Carter was slowly finding his footing among the galaxy's diverse diplomatic figures. The conversations were intense and the stakes high, but he was beginning to enjoy the challenge. As he packed up his notes, Teak approached him with a slight flutter of excitement. John, you have received an unexpected invitation from King Zalvador of the Zaltraxians for tonight's ceremonial banquet. It's quite an honor. The Zaltraxians rarely extend such gestures. John raised his eyebrows in surprise. That is unexpected indeed, Teak. Do you have any idea what prompted this? Teak tilted his head, his antennae twitching. No clear indications, but it might be an opportunity to mend any strained relations from your arrival incident. It's also a chance to engage with one of the Council's most influential figures. Sounds like an opportunity one shouldn't miss. Let's prepare for the evening. Later that evening, dressed in a formal version of his uniform, John arrived at the Grand Hall where the banquet was to be held. The hall was a marvel of Zaltraxian architecture, with high-vaulted ceilings and walls that shimmered with a metallic glow, reflecting the light in a spectrum of colors. King Zalvador, a towering figure with regal bearing and intricate markings on his face, greeted him warmly. John Carter, we welcome you. Your presence honors us. Thank you, King Zalvador. I am grateful for your hospitality, John replied, bowing slightly in respect. As they walked towards the banquet table, Salvador introduced him to his advisors and other high-ranking officials. Among them was his daughter, Princess Vera, who stood out with her unique appearance and poised demeanor. Princess Vera, it's a pleasure to meet you, John said, extending his hand. Vera's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she took his hand. The pleasure is mine, John. I've heard much about Earth's emerging role in the Council. The banquet began, and John found himself seated next to Vera. They were served a variety of exotic dishes, each a culinary artwork. As the meal progressed, Vera's initial formal demeanor gave way to a more relaxed and engaging personality. So, John, what are your impressions of the Council so far? Vera asked, her tone friendly yet probing. It's a complex landscape, certainly more challenging than I anticipated. But it's also fascinating. There's so much to learn from each culture present. Vera nodded, her gaze thoughtful. Yes, the dynamics can be overwhelming, even for those of us raised in it. My father hopes for stability, but it's a delicate balance. Their conversation delved deeper into their respective cultures. John shared stories of Earth's natural beauty and its diverse cultures, while Vera spoke of Zaltraxian traditions and the pressures of being a royal. Being the king's daughter must come with its own set of challenges, John commented. It does, Vera admitted. There's a certain image one must maintain, expectations to be met. Sometimes it feels like there's little room for one's own desires. John could see the weight of her words in her expression. I imagine it's not easy, but it seems you handle it with a lot of grace. Vera laughed, a light, genuine sound. I try. And tonight has been a delightful reprieve. Their dialogue continued, effortlessly flowing from cultural practices to personal aspirations. As the banquet drew to an end, John felt a genuine connection had been forged, not just with Vera, but potentially with the Zaltraxian delegation as a whole. Thank you for the enlightening conversation, Vera. I hope we can continue this in the future, John said as they rose from the table. I would like that very much, Vera replied, her smile warm. Perhaps we can meet under less formal circumstances. As John returned to his quarters, he reflected on the evening. It had gone better than he could have hoped, providing a foundation not just for diplomatic relations, but for something more personal and profound. The following day brought a lighter schedule, providing John with a rare opportunity to explore the cultural pavilion on Elysium. As he walked through the exhibit of interstellar art and technology, he received a discreet message on his communicator. It was from Princess Vera, inviting him to meet her in the royal gardens at dusk. Curiosity piqued, John agreed, wondering about the nature of her invitation. As the station's artificial sun dipped towards the horizon, John made his way to the gardens. The area was a breathtaking display of botany from across the galaxy, with bioluminescent flowers and towering fern-like structures that swayed gently. Vera was already there, looking ethereal under the glow of the twilight lamps. She greeted him with a smile. John, I'm glad you could come. I thought this might be a more relaxed setting for a chat away from the formalities of the council. I appreciate it, Vera. This place is remarkable, John replied, taking in the serene beauty around them. They began to walk along a path lined with shimmering plants, their conversation resuming with ease. Vera was curious about human customs, particularly their concepts of leisure and family. So, what do humans enjoy doing in their free time? Vera asked, genuinely intrigued. John chuckled. Well, it varies wildly, but many enjoy spending time in nature, hiking, swimming, playing sports. Others prefer quieter activities like reading or painting. How about Zaltraxians? We have similar diversions, Vera shared. Though we Zaltraxians have a fondness for astral navigation. We spend nights charting stars and planets, creating maps of the cosmos. That sounds fascinating, John mused, impressed. Navigating the stars sounds like a poetic way to spend your evenings. It can be, Vera agreed with a nod. And what about family? Are human families very close? Again, it varies. But yes, for many, family is a central part of life. We gather for meals, celebrate holidays together, support each other through life's ups and downs. And you? Much the same, though perhaps a bit more formal in royal families. There are many expectations, roles to fulfill. It can be constraining at times, she admitted, her tone softening. As they continued to share details of their lives, the initial barriers of formality seemed to melt away. The gardens around them faded into a soft blur as they focused intently on each other's words, discovering the many parallels and peculiarities of their respective cultures. Eventually, they found a quiet bench beside a gently bubbling water feature. Vera looked at John with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "John, may I ask something more personal?" "Of course," John said, turning to face her more directly. "How do humans view love? Is it as bound by tradition and expectation as it is here?" John considered her question thoughtfully. "Love can be complicated for us, too. Many people see it as a personal journey, one that can defy expectations and norms. It's valued highly, seen as something to be cherished and protected." Vera's eyes held his in a lingering gaze. I would like to experience that kind of love." Their conversation gradually shifted from the cultural to the personal, and as the night deepened, so did their connection. When it was time to part, they stood together, reluctant to end the evening. "Thank you for tonight, Vera. I feel I've learned so much, not just about Zaltraxians, but about you." "And you," Vera replied. Their goodbye was marked by a tentative exchange of affection, a gentle touch of hands, and a promise to meet again soon. As John walked back to his quarters, his mind was alive with thoughts of Vera. The princess was more than just a link to a potential ally. She was becoming a significant part of his experience on Elysium, and he was eager to see where this unexpected connection would lead them next. In the weeks that followed, John and Vera's clandestine meetings became the highlight of their days. Utilizing discreet communication channels, they arranged times to explore lesser-known parts of Elysium, far from the prying eyes of other delegates and station staff. One evening, John waited in a secluded observation deck that offered a stunning view of the nearby nebulae, the colors dancing across the vast window like a celestial ballet. He heard the soft sound of footsteps and turned to see Vera approaching, her face lit with a smile that warmed his heart. "Vera, this place is incredible," John said, greeting her with an outstretched hand. "It's one of my favorite spots on the station," she replied, taking his hand. "Few know about it. It's perfect for private conversations or just watching the stars." They spent the first few minutes in comfortable silence, watching the swirling colors of the nebula. But soon, their talk turned to more personal topics. "John, each time we meet, I find myself more intrigued by you, by your world. It's liberating, being able to speak so openly," Vera confessed, her voice soft. John felt a similar pull, an earnest connection that went beyond diplomacy. "I feel the same, Vera. There's something about you that makes me forget the pressures of our roles." As their bond deepened, so did their affection. Tonight felt different, charged with an emotional intensity that neither could ignore. John looked into Vera's eyes, seeing the reflection of the nebula's light in them. Slowly, he leaned in, his heart pounding, and kissed her. Vera responded with equal passion, her hands finding their way to his shoulders as they drew closer. The kiss was a bridge between two worlds, filled with the promise of something profound and uncharted. Eventually, they parted, breathless. "John, I've never felt this way before," Vera whispered. "Neither have I," John admitted. "But we need to be cautious. If anyone knew about us—" "I know," Vera said quickly, her expression serious. "The repercussions would be severe. Not just for us, but potentially for our planets." They talked through their options, weighing the risks against their growing feelings. It was clear neither was ready to end what had started. They agreed to continue meeting in secret, each encounter carefully planned and shrouded in discretion. Their meetings grew more frequent and passionate. They shared stories of their childhoods, their fears, and their dreams. Each meeting ended with reluctance, a promise to see each other again soon. One night, as they lay watching the stars after a stolen moment of intimacy, John spoke softly. "Vera, whatever happens, I want you to know how much these moments mean to me." Vera nestled closer, her voice just as soft. "And I to you, John. No matter where our paths lead, I will cherish this time." Their secret affair continued, blossoming against the backdrop of their official duties. The dual lives they led were complex and risky, but for John and Vera, every stolen moment was a treasure, a defiance of the restrictions placed upon them by their very different worlds. As they navigated their forbidden love, they were unaware of the storm brewing around them. Their affair, hidden though it was, could not remain secret forever in the corridors of power and intrigue that wound through Elysium. The consequences, when they came, would test the strength of their bond and the very fabric of their diplomatic roles. The revelation of John and Vera's secret relationship came unexpectedly, during one of their clandestine meetings in the Arboretum of Elysium. As they walked hand in hand among exotic flora, discussing plans for their next rendezvous, they were abruptly interrupted by their rival of Lord Karun, a high-ranking Zaltraxian official and close advisor to King Salvador. Princess Vera. Karun's voice boomed through the foliage, his tone a mixture of shock and disapproval as he caught sight of the two. And Mr. Carter, what is this I see? John and Vera froze, their worst fears materializing before them. Vera quickly composed herself, stepping forward with a dignified poise. Lord Karun, this is not what it appears. Karun, however, was not swayed. His eyes narrowed as he looked at John. Your presence here is most irregular, human. The council will hear of this. John knew any protest would be futile under Karun's stern gaze. We meant no disrespect, Lord Karun. Please, let us explain. But Karun was already turning away, his steps brisk as he spoke over his shoulder. There will be consequences for this. Expect a summons from the council. As Karun disappeared among the plants, the silence that followed was heavy. John turned to Vera, his expression one of concern. Vera, I'm sorry. I never wanted to put you in this position. Vera took a deep breath, her resolve firming. We knew the risks, John. We'll face them together. The scandal erupted with the speed of a supernova across Elysium. Rumors swirled, painting their relationship in scandalous hues. It wasn't long before both John and Vera were called before a special session of the Galactic Council. Seated before the assembly, John felt the weight of countless eyes upon him. King Salvador, his expression inscrutable, presided over the meeting. We are here to address a serious breach of protocol and conduct unbecoming of a council diplomat and my daughter, he announced gravely. John stood, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Honorable members, I stand before you in regret for any disruption we have caused, but not for the relationship I have with Princess Vera. It is based on mutual respect and genuine affection. Murmurs filled the chamber, some of shock, others of censure. Vera stood next, her voice echoing clearly. I'm my father's daughter, but I'm also my own person. My feelings for John should not be seen as a betrayal of my people or of the council's ideals. A Zaltraxian delegate rose, his tone acerbic. This union is highly irregular and sets a dangerous precedent. How can we trust a human who entangles himself with the royal family in such a manner? Before John could respond, another voice joined the fray. It was Scylla, the delegate from Myria, whom John had befriended early in his tenure. If we preach unity and understanding among cultures, should we not also embrace these when manifested in personal relations? Where is the harm if they respect and honor each other? The debate raged on, with opinions fiercely divided. John and Vera listened, holding on to each other's hands under the table for strength. As the council prepared to vote on their fate, King Salvador finally spoke. While I do not condone how this situation came about, I have observed my daughter's happiness. Can we, who navigate the stars, not navigate the complexities of the heart with equal skill and compassion? The room fell silent, pondering his words. The vote was cast, and the results were closer than anyone had anticipated. In the end, the council ruled narrowly in favor of allowing John and Vera to remain in their positions, though under strict scrutiny. As they left the council chamber, Vera squeezed John's hand tightly. Whatever comes next, we face it together, she whispered. John nodded, the weight of the council's decision heavy on his shoulders, yet lightened by the prospect of continuing his journey with Vera. Their future was uncertain, fraught with challenges, but for now, they had withstood the storm together. In the aftermath of the council's decision, the atmosphere around John and Vera changed dramatically. While they had narrowly escaped severe disciplinary actions, the scrutiny they now faced was intense. Rumors continued to swirl, and every action was watched closely by both their allies and detractors. John met with his closest ally Scylla, in a quiet corner of the communal lounge, seeking advice on navigating the treacherous political landscape that had formed around him. Scylla, thanks for meeting me. I know you've stuck your neck out for us, John started, his tone appreciative. Scylla nodded, her expression serious. John, I believe in what I said at the council. But you must understand, the environment here has shifted. You're walking on very thin ice. I understand. And I'm more cautious now, but it's challenging. The human delegation is particularly displeased with how things have unfolded. They feel I've compromised their position here. It's not just your delegation. The Zaltraxians are deeply split on this issue. Some see your relationship with Vera as a symbol of progressive change, while others view it as a disgrace to their royal lineage. John sighed, rubbing his temples. What do you suggest I do, Scylla? Continue to perform your duties impeccably. Show them that your personal life does not affect your professional capabilities. Also, keep a low profile socially. The less fodder for gossip, the better. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Teak, who looked unusually flustered. John, you need to see this. There's been a leak to the media about your relationship with Vera. It's all over the news networks. John felt a surge of frustration. Thank you, Teak. Scylla, I have to handle this. Leaving the lounge, John headed straight to Vera's quarters. He found her watching the news, her face a mask of calm that did little to hide the worry in her eyes. John, have you seen it? Vera asked as he entered. Yes, I just heard. Vera, this could get worse before it gets better. Vera turned to him, her resolve clear. We knew this might happen. But I'm not going to let media speculation dictate my feelings or my actions. John admired her strength. I agree. We'll face this together. The next few days were a whirlwind of media frenzy and whispered hallway conversations. Despite their efforts to maintain professionalism, the strain began to show. John found himself being sidelined in meetings, his opinions overlooked. Vera faced similar isolation, her once warm reception among delegates cooling significantly. Feeling the need for guidance, John arranged a meeting with another human delegate, Marcus, who had been neutral during the controversy. They met in the library, a place of neutral ground amid the station's current tensions. Marcus, I need some insight from within our delegation. How bad is it? John inquired, hoping for some candor. Marcus was blunt. John, there's no easy way to say this. Many feel betrayed. They believe you've prioritized a personal relationship over the interests of Earth. But I haven't. My work has always complied with our mission objectives, John defended. I believe you, John. But perception is reality here. To regain trust, you'll need to find a way to reaffirm your commitment to our cause. Any suggestions on how I might do that? Focus on a new initiative. Something significant that benefits not just Earth but the broader Council. Show them where your loyalties lie. Grateful for the advice, John left the meeting with new resolve. He began drafting a proposal for a joint technological initiative that could help mitigate energy shortages across several Council worlds, including Earth and Zaltrax. Meanwhile, Vera was making her own efforts to bridge the gap with her people, organizing a series of cultural exchanges designed to showcase the beauty and diversity of Zaltraxian arts and history. As they worked on their respective projects, both John and Vera knew they were fighting an uphill battle. But they were determined to prove that their love was no impediment to their effectiveness or their dedication to their people. Each step forward was a step toward regaining the trust and respect they had once enjoyed, even as the shadows of their fall from grace loomed large behind them. Months had passed since the media storm around John and Vera's relationship had peaked. With diligent work and discreet interactions, they had slowly started to rebuild their professional reputations. John's energy initiative was gaining traction, and Vera's cultural exchange program was being met with increasing interest and appreciation. However, the true test of their efforts came when they were once again summoned before the Galactic Council, this time to review the progress of their respective projects and to reassess their positions within the Council. John stood before the assembly, Vera by his side, as they prepared to present their findings and plead their case. The hall was packed, the air thick with anticipation. King Salvador opened the session. We are here today to evaluate the contributions of John Carter and Princess Vera in light of recent controversies. Let us proceed with the presentations. John took the lead, his voice steady. Honorable members, over the past months, I've spearheaded an initiative aimed at developing a new energy solution that leverages technology from multiple worlds, including Earth and Zaltrax. This initiative not only promises to alleviate energy shortages, but also fosters greater cooperation among our planets. He clicked the remote, and the screen behind him lit up with graphs and data projections. Here are the projected outcomes for the first phase of the initiative, demonstrating significant potential for energy savings and sustainability. As John concluded, murmurs of approval echoed around the room. Vera then stepped forward to discuss her program. In parallel, we have launched a series of cultural exchanges that have enabled thousands across the galaxy to experience Zaltraxian culture firsthand, promoting understanding and appreciation. She played a series of holograms depicting various events and workshops from the exchange program, the colorful displays captivating the audience. After their presentations, the floor was open for questions. A previously skeptical delegate from Draconis stood, his tone now curious rather than confrontational. John, can you elaborate on how this energy initiative will be sustainable in the long term? John was prepared. Certainly. We plan to implement a phased integration, starting with pilot planets. Based on those results, we'll adjust the technology to suit different environmental conditions, ensuring both efficiency and minimal ecological impact. Vera added, and by involving artists and thinkers from various cultures in our exchanges, we ensure that this isn't just about Zaltraxian culture imposing itself, but about mutual sharing and learning. Their answers seemed to satisfy most of the council members, but it was clear there were still doubts. As the debate continued, Scylla once again came to their defense. Let's not forget, Scylla interjected, the personal courage it has taken for these two to stand before us today, not only working towards their official duties but also navigating the challenges posed by their unique situation. The final vote was tense, with delegates casting their ballots one by one. In the end, the decision was more favorable than John and Vera had dared to hope. The council voted overwhelmingly to continue supporting both the energy initiative and the cultural exchange program. As the assembly adjourned, King Salvador approached John and Vera, a rare smile on his face. You have both shown great dedication to your duties and to each other. You have my support as well as the council's. Thank you, Father, Vera said, relief and gratitude evident in her voice. John added, thank you, Your Majesty, and to all the council members. We are committed to proving that our personal lives will continue to enrich, not hinder, our professional contributions. As they left the council chamber, John and Vera felt a weight lift from their shoulders. They had faced the council together, not just as diplomats but as partners, and they had emerged stronger. The future was still uncertain, but they knew they could face it together, with the support of both their leaders and the people they served. The favorable decision of the Galactic Council marked a turning point for John and Vera. With endorsement of their projects and their relationship, they felt empowered to plan for the future, both professionally and personally. The mood in Elysium was palpably lighter as they walked together through the station's main concourse. Vera, do you realize what this means? John asked, a broad smile spreading across his face. It means we've been given a chance, a real chance to make a difference together, Vera replied, her eyes reflecting a mix of joy and disbelief. As they approached a cafe overlooking one of Elysium's many tranquil gardens, John suggested they take a moment to celebrate their victory in private. Inside, they chose a secluded spot by the window, away from the few patrons present. Over cups of steaming Zaltraxian herbal tea, they discussed their immediate next steps. I think we should expand the energy initiative, John proposed. If we integrate it with some of the cultural exchange elements you've developed, we could enhance its appeal and effectiveness. Vera nodded thoughtfully. Integrating art and culture into the technology demonstrations would humanize the initiative, make it resonate more with people's daily lives. Their strategic planning was interrupted by the arrival of Teak, who approached their table with his usual brisk enthusiasm. John, Vera, I just heard the news. Congratulations are in order. How are you planning to celebrate? John laughed. Right now, by making more plans. But perhaps we should take a moment to just relax. Teak clapped his appendages together. A fine idea. And if I might suggest, there's going to be a gathering later today in the Harmony Hall. It's a celebration of the new art installations from various worlds. It would be the perfect setting to unwind and mingle. Vera looked at John, who nodded in agreement. That sounds like just what we need, Teak. Thank you. As evening approached, John and Vera made their way to Harmony Hall. The event was vibrant, filled with music, laughter, and the rich tapestry of intergalactic culture. They mingled with delegates and citizens, feeling more a part of the community than ever before. During the event, Scylla approached them, a warm smile on her face. You two are the talk of the station, in a good way for once. It seems you've managed not only to survive but to thrive. It feels like we're finally moving forward, John replied. And we owe you a lot, Scylla. Your support has been invaluable. Scylla waved off the compliment. We're friends for. Besides, you two have worked tirelessly. You've earned every bit of success. As the party continued, King Salvador joined them, his demeanor much softer than usual. I must admit, seeing the station come together like this, celebrating art and innovation, it gives me hope for what we can achieve as a unified council. Vera took her father's hand, squeezing it gently. We're getting there, Father. Slowly but surely. The evening wound down with a sense of unity and accomplishment. As they left the hall, John wrapped an arm around Vera's shoulders, feeling the rightness of the moment. Vera, today has been incredible, but I've been thinking, John started, a hint of nervousness in his voice. What do you think about making our partnership official? Not just professionally, but personally? Vera stopped, turning to face him. Surprise and happiness etched across her features. Are you saying what I think you're saying? If you think I'm asking you to marry me, then yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, John confirmed, his heart beating fast. Vera laughed joyously, throwing her arms around him. Yes, John. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As they embraced, looking out over the lights of Elysium, they knew that they were not just witnessing a new chapter in their lives, but also in the life of the Galactic Council. Together, they would continue to bridge worlds, not just with their love, but with their dedication to making the galaxy a better place for all its diverse inhabitants.